Hello, everybody. My name is Haru, and
I'm Chara.
we're at the Elmwood Cemetery. And today we're going to be telling you guys the story of the Blackburn case. And the main characters of our story is Thornton and Lucy Blackburn, and they are a newlywed couple that lives in Kentucky. This is where the story starts. They lived in Kentucky as slaves under their slave master, which can be very miserable at that time. I wouldn't want to be a slave, would you?
No, I wouldn't want to be.
I wouldn't want to be one either. But they lived in that miserable life. But the one thing they had to be happy about is that they got married recently. But white people, with their attitude, they wanted to come crashing that also. So they decided that they were going to get rid of Lucy and sell her. But Thornton and Lucy looked at each other like, we're not having that. So they decided to move up towards Detroit. And at that time, Detroit wasn't even a city. Matter of fact, Michigan wasn't even a state. So it was more just of a land of territory at that time. But it was a land of freedom at that time also. So they decided to move up north towards Detroit. And that is where they were going to start new lives.
Yeah. And after staying in Detroit for 2 years, making friends with the Frenches and the Lightfoots, their former slave master from Kentucky, found out where they were and sent someone to go get them because he wanted his slaves so bad. And the sheriff in the town decided to put Thornton and Lucy in jail to figure out the whole situation.
And it was just so messed up how as soon as they got to Detroit, the slave master was like, oh no, you guys are coming back. So they got locked up in Detroit after just getting a little bit of freedom and making friends. But thanks to their friends, they were going to get their friends back. They had their backs at that time. It was like, okay, our friends just got freedom and they're just getting it taken back from them, and we're not going to have that. So we're going to make a plan to get them back so they can enjoy their freedom as black people at that time. So they made a plan in a little house that was just a block away from the jailhouse, which is not that far. And it's just funny how close that was to the jailhouse, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so funny.
But in that time, the missus of the couples, Mrs. Lightfoot and Mrs. French, they went to go get Lucy first. Then they were going to get Thornton. So first is Lucy, and they go make food. They prepare a little plan, and the plan was we're going to make some food, a dinner for the sheriff watching Lucy, and we're going to use that as a distraction to get him up and eat the food, and we're going to go in and get Lucy.
Yeah.
So they executed their plan, and that plan actually worked. They distracted them with the food, the aroma of the good food they cooked, and while he's distracted by the food, they go in the back to get Lucy. And Mrs. French and Lucy actually switch places. They switch clothes. They switch identities, basically. And at that time, that just shows you how white people thought we all looked alike. And it successfully worked. He thought that Lucy was French, and he let them go. But then later on, he learned that he was tricked. He went to go tell Mr. French that, oh, your wife just tricked me, and I'm not having that, so she's about to get sold soon. And he was like, oh no, we got to get her.
Yeah.
So he goes to go get his wife, and that same day they were going to go get Thornton also. And Thornton was about to get shipped back to Kentucky. And while they were walking out of the jailhouse, there was a whole riot outside. Just people knowing about their story, and they wanted justice for the two.
And those people had weapons and were hiding behind trees and bushes. And as soon as Thornton came out, everyone just started going crazy and shouting because they wanted Thornton to be free. And the sheriff had a bullwhip to control all these people, but Thornton, he had a gun that the ladies had slipped to him, and he turned around on the sheriff and shot him.
He shot the sheriff, but not the deputy. And at that time, the riot even got more crazy, and they were like, oh, wow, they're just going crazy, just yelling, screaming, throwing things. And at that time, Thornton's friends, like, okay, let's use this opportunity to get Thornton out of here quick and fast. So one of the friends, her name was Sleepy Polly. She wasn't sleepy all the time, but they just gave her that nickname. I don't know why, but at that time, she pushed him into a wagon with a blind horse. Now, you're probably thinking, why? He doesn't know where he's going. Why would they push him into a blind horse? But that blind horse actually knew his way around Detroit. So, with the trusty blind horse, they pushed him into the wagon, and they hit the horse, and the horse went right down the street, and he knew which direction to run into. He didn't bump into anything. He successfully got Thornton away from the station, but the deputy was trying to chase after him. And down the street, luckily, there was a lot of wagons going up and down the street at the time. And so as the wagon is going far, far away, more wagons are coming and going, and that's confusing the deputy. He was just like, I don't know where they are now. And
so the wagon gets all the way to the woods, and the men, Thornton was with a bunch of other men. It wasn't just him in the wagon. And they started running through the forest so they can get to the river. And once they got to the river, they found someone with a rowboat. And that person wanted some money for his rowboat. But the guys didn't have any money. So one of the men had a gold watch, and he exchanged that watch for the rowboat so they can get over to Canada.
And as he's giving the watch, he's just like, it's worth it. You know, if I'm getting my freedom, his watch, I can sacrifice his watch for my freedom. And they successfully used the boat, and they got over to Canada. And as soon as they got to Canada, got a little bit of freedom, it happened again. They got locked up again. Their former slave master keeps on coming after them. He does not give up, apparently. So he called over to Canada and he said, I got some slaves over there. If you catch them, lock them up so I can come get them. So Canada is an official territory at the time, so they can decide what happens and what doesn't happen. And since they're a free country at the time, they decided, since they are on our land, we're gonna let them free because we have a say in the matter, and y'all don't even have a say in the matter because y'all not even a territory yet. So they luckily got away because of Canada. Thank God to Canada. And they successfully went up towards Toronto to go even farther away from the States. And so they started new lives in Toronto. Thornton decided to do something good and make the first taxi company in Toronto ever. So because of taxis in Toronto, you can thank Thornton for that. And he did something risky after that. After escaping plenty of times in the States, he went to go back to the States to get his mom, which I see as a very good thing as a man to get his mother back, just so she can share that freedom with her son. So he went back all the way back to the States to get his mother, and he successfully got back to Toronto. And I still can't believe he got back without being caught, which was good. It's very good. I'm proud that they got back in time safely. And then after that, they lived their lives in Toronto and didn't get caught again. So that's the end of the story.
Oh, cool. Okay, we are at the grave of Thornton Blackburn, and this date is August the 2nd, 2019. And this says, in memory of Thornton Blackburn, died February 26, 1890, age 76 years, a native of Maysville, Kentucky, U.S. Blessed are the dead which die in the Lord. So we found Thornton Blackburn's grave. I just feel so close to him. I don't want to be stepping on anybody. And also in this grave supposedly is his wife and his mother, and I think one or two other people who are unknown. They think that they might be his cousin.
Did you know anything about the Underground Railroad or the Blackburns before you started this research?
No, I didn't know a lot much of the Underground Railroad. I knew that a lot of things happened with black people, and it was a system to help black people escape to freedom.
Yeah.
Thanks to the help of Harriet Tubman, she was one of the main contributors of the Underground Railroad. But other than that, I knew that she was more of the main hero of the Underground Railroad. I didn't know of any other people that contributed into the Underground Railroad until I decided to do some research over the summer and learn about more things that happened because of the Underground Railroad.
So what do you what was the most what was the thing that you learned the most about these people and the Underground Railroad and what they did back in the day?
That they were willing to sacrifice anything to help the black people get their freedom. They were willing to go back and forth as many times as they needed to help people get their freedom. There are a lot of riots that happened because of this. Plenty, more than 5 that I researched that happened because of this. But in all these riots and all these stories, the black people ended up getting their freedom because of the Underground Railroad.
And a lot of times we don't hear about what women do. Okay, we hear about Harriet Tubman, but these women were particularly brave, and we never hear their name in history. What do you think about the women in this story?
The women, Caroline and Tabitha, were very loyal friends to Lucy, and I'm glad that their names were put in the story. Like, that was an important part of helping her escape, so I'm proud of that.
Okay. Well, thank you both for helping us with the story.
Thank you.